not the sworn enemy of lying pomposity, smugness, and groupthink that Tucker Carlson is, I will still try to be a mini version today. Sophie Scholl calls out nonsense. Well, of course they confronted it when they were in Nazi Germany. Got to confront it here in America. And I call a halt to the DEI games. Halt to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Isn't it interesting that as you get underneath the SVB scandal, the bank that kind of went under, you see that they're not so much experts in banking as they are credentialed in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And isn't it interesting to see that these directors have some kind of association with Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and would fund leading Democrats such as Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. They're all about doing the social activist thing, like contributing millions to Black Lives Matter and other left-wing organizations, rather than running a bank like any knowledgeable person in the field would do. But again, it's not so much about meritocracy as it is filling in the blanks for leftist social agenda. And I think we're going to be stuck with a bill in bailing that bank out. But what really bothers me is this headline that says, diversity, equity, inclusion hiring spree. Top job pays up to $183,500. And that's from the Air Force. The Air Force is going woke. The Air Force is looking for directors in certain fields within their branch to be the officer of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It may add up to maybe a couple $1 million, but it's the principle of the matter. I mean, do you really think Chinese generals are quaking in their boots saying, look what America is doing? They're getting officers who are leading in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Do you think their premier over there is going to pull back his forces, going to withdraw his influence around the world because America, in their Air Force, is installing diversity, equity, and inclusion officers? Halt the DEI games. Thankfully, we're seeing a little bit of that being done, even in the education field. From what I understand, the University of Houston is withdrawing this agenda, and maybe a couple others as well. But it's still very much a part of what we see under the umbrella of wokeness. Wokeness. Think about that school I mentioned a couple weeks ago, the girls' basketball team that refused to take the court against another team that had a male who was a fake female on the team. Well, they withdrew, and now the state of Vermont is saying you can no longer play Christian school in a state tournament. And that goes for the boys as well. Just to show you how unfair this is, of course we're seeing biological males faking being a female participating in women's sports. How many females do you see being fake males in male sports? You don't see it. The disadvantage is clearly seen, but the woke crowd won't see it, but they advance their DEI games. And unfortunately, we can't afford these games in our military, the Air Force especially. Well, I so appreciate a political cartoon I saw in which it pictures a plane doing a nosedive. It's ready to plow into the ground. And somebody says, "Didn't you go to flight school?" And the response was, "No, But I did stay at an Equity Inn Express last night. Well, that's what we're seeing when people are falling for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Get rid of it, especially in the government. In particular, our military, and let's do away with it in education as well. We've got to rightly respond, and I emphasize rightly, respond to the wokeness, the wackadoodle wokeness in education, politics, corporation, business, church. It's everywhere. Let's stand up to it. Well, unlike Tony Kornheiser, of Pardon the Interruption, I cannot promise you that I'll do better the next time.